The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
Episode number 472 of the West Tigers podcast, and it is a post-victory edition of the West Tigers podcast. Always fantastic to do. Josh is looking at me like I've said something wrong. Is that's not the case?
Sorry.
No,
Okay. All good.
Did I dream and did we actually lose? No, that wasn't I didn't pass out on the lounge and imagine a totally different outcome. 36-28, I think, was the score, unless I'm very much mistaken, and that was our way. One word, gentlemen, to describe that. Nick, you've got your bling on, and you're out there at Leichhardt today. What's your one word, please?
I don't know where to start. I've got too many words. I do have the bling on, so maybe my word will be bling, but maybe Jerome does listen to the pod, and it does seem that, whatever I seem to suggest, that the West Tigers seem to stand up and take note. So I did ask that Romy just stop the dancing and start leading and being a bit more direct, and I thought he was exceptional tonight, along with quite a few others. But let's go with bling, and it's all about Romy tonight.
And the other thing that he's taken note of is that, he wasn't like that. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the brim of the cap is down over the eyes, but in the press conference, he was sitting upright and he just listened. So we need to come up with some other, game plays and suggestions for Jerome Luai for the midweek edition of the pod. Jordan's here. Jordan was out at the game as well and looked to be having a great time with his family. One word, please, gentlemen.
Stefath, I think, for someone who has copped a lot of criticism and probably hasn't played his best over the last few weeks, but I thought that was his best game wearing our jersey. There was 2 try-saving tackles, whether he gave away a penalty or not. But the effort areas, the clean-up, even Benji made a special mention to him in the press conference that he had an exceptional game, and I thought he made a big difference and played big minutes. And I think he led the game with 55 tackles. So I thought he had an absolute blinder. So I think he deserves the recognition.
And what about for you, Josh?
Passion was my word, Joel. I wasn't able to make it out there. I've been a bit sick this weekend, with the round wasn't able to make it. But watching it on TV, the passion of the fans, the passion of the team, and I was also going to call out our most passionate player, not often our best, but tonight one of our best, Alex Seyfarth as well. So okay. I thought he's a guy that shows passion, but not always ability. But today he combined the two and was sensational for the Tigers. So, but I think the passion of the crowd, the passion of the team, and the passion that is Leichhardt was wonderful today. So great day for the club.
I don't know about you boys, but I'm going to say that was Alex Seyfarth's best game for West Tigers.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Without a doubt.
He's not just defence, but attack. He scored a try, and he did really well to spin out of that tackle and get over the line. But everything he did was brilliant. I cannot wait to get off this pod later and watch the replay, because I want to watch the game again and listen to the commentary and hear what they said about all the players, but especially Seyfarth. I thought he was very, very good.
They definitely gave him some raps too. So the commentators were also impressed, Nick.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've got a couple of words here, but I just thought, I'll swing it back to the guys that were there. What was the atmosphere like? Because it came across like there was a lot of flag waving and a lot of noise on the TV. What was it like out there,
Jordan?
Yeah, it was awesome. They the start of the game, it was full on, like just the warm up. The crowd was getting into it when they ran out. Gave me goosebumps when they ran out and everyone was cheering, watching Jerome and Taruva jump around and get hyped up. We fell out of it a bit in that little period in the second half when the Titans, scored those quick tries.
It would have been very quiet 5 minutes after halftime.
It was, but then again, the crowd really got behind the boys as they were going up the tunnel. Every fan probably had a right to sit back and go, here we go again, but they cheered them on. And, especially when we got the first try, in the second half to make it a 6-point game. You could feel it build. When we leveled it up at 24 all, the crowd got into it and stayed into it for the remainder of the game. So they, it was a very ebbs and flow with the crowd at points, but I think it was a definite turning point with momentum and energy towards the back end of the game.
Mm.
So I got there a little bit early, and probably not as early as you, Jordan, but I like to float around. So I started around at the hill and just had to wander through and look for a few familiar faces, and then walked around to the northern end, which will be our new grandstand in a year or so, which I can't wait to watch the development. And then ended up sitting around about the halfway line on the grandstand side, which was great. But the weather was crazy. Like the half hour or so before the game started and the players came out, you could see the clouds building. It was very black. The wind picked up out of nowhere. Then the rain started driving, and it was very unpleasant. But it didn't stop what Jordan's talking about. Like the atmosphere in the crowd was crazy. The wind just encouraged everyone to put the flags up. You would have seen on TV the Orange West Tigers flags were flying very rapidly, and it looked really cool. There was that 12 minutes of terror, which we'll probably talk about, where the Titans scored those 4 tries in the lead up to halftime, and then just after, and I was having palpitations. But we showed immense, strength and resilience to hold on and come back and claim victory. So it was a really, really fun evening out of Leichhardt Oval.
It was one of those games. It wouldn't have been a fun evening if things hadn't have fallen in the last 15 minutes. It would have been, we would be in a totally different mood. I've got Luai. How could you not have Luai as your word? Like, what we spoke about on the pod last week was how we need him to stand up and be the difference. And he was the difference. I think Luai is probably, I think that's the most fitting word that we could come up with. If he wasn't out there today, I don't think we win. Completions, like I thought, as you said, this was a game where we actually did really well with our completions. Mostly, a couple of shaky moments, but I thought we played pretty good disciplined football, especially through the first half an hour. Unfortunately, a little bit of their class came through at different times, or should I say, a little bit of the class of their fullback, who's an immensely talented young player. He's very good.
He's a freak. You just can't give him time.
Exactly. But my word, aside from Luai, is Leichhardt. Like, what an amazing thing that the place that is, and the types of games that we often get there, and how much the fans love it, and how good it is for the game of rugby league. The only thing I'd be concerned about is there seems to be an awful lot of work scheduled for sort of 12 months, because they were talking on the commentary that they've still got NRLW to play there, and it's I had thought that the Bulldozers were going to be coming in pretty quickly after, but I don't know if anybody knows what the schedule is. But I think new grandstand and the amount of work that needs to be done is probably pretty optimistic if we're talking about a year. But
my understanding is that shutdown, like official shutdown, is not until the first week of September.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yep.
I think we've got some NRLW, and I heard there's a concert on around about September, or around about that time of the year, and then I think it might be game on from there. So looking forward to riding my e-bike past multiple times a week to keep on the progress. I'll keep everyone updated.
My goodness, that e-bike gets around Silverwater Bridge and Leichhardt.
I'm staying away from bridges tomorrow. I'm just riding around the streets and waving the flag. Can't wait.
The flags are back.
Yeah,
I just want to take my seats.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it wouldn't have been the type of event where people were taking souvenirs. I guess there's not a lot that's not bolted down. But did you have your eye on one of those fold down seats, Jordan? Is that what you?
Yeah. I've sat in Bay 8 for 20 years, and I want those fold out. I've got a place from my new house that I want to set up in the outdoor entertaining area and just have them as stools for an outdoor bar. So, if that opportunity comes up, I'll be there with bells on to take them.
Well, I reckon that a certain number should be put up for charity. You should get some of the Tigers greats to sign them and put some up and auction them off. There's so much history in those seats. They've been there a long time. So, I don't know. That's something that I'd put forward. But anyway, okay, I thought we might start off with a talk about the young guy that made his debut. I was very, very impressed. Josh, Josesi, or Joey Lanyon, I thought he didn't look out of place at all. And Benji said in the press conference he looked like a first grader.
Yeah, he did look like a first grader. I mean, I'd seen him a bit in the juniors and he'd been good, but I wasn't sure if he was quite NRL level, but he came out there today and had a sensational game. In fact, I thought we really struggled when he went off, and maybe a little bit of that's coincidence, but I thought he kind of lined up that defensive line. But he was strong in defence, which is often the challenge you get with young blokes kind of coming in. But he was really tough in defence, some good hits, and didn't seem to miss many. He took a couple of good scoots out of dummy half. I thought his passing really brought the forwards onto the ball, which is something that Hope doesn't do. And you see a lot of actually backup hookers come in, and the passing's just that little bit slower, and it's not out in front of guys. Look, I thought in the last kind of 5-10 minutes he looked a bit tired, but you can't blame her. I think he probably played more minutes than he was expected to because Latu went off a bit unexpectedly. But I thought, the HIA. So I thought he was, really impressed, and I think he might have found himself a more permanent spot in the 19-man squad even when Appy's back. So really impressed with him today. Really, really good first game. Yeah,
Jordan, you would say that he's, based on that performance, he's probably leapfrogged Hope at least for the rest of this year. You'd think.
Well, the good thing is to know that he's signed up with the club till 2028. I don't know if any part of that is top 30, but he does have the contract with the club. I definitely believe he surpassed Hope in one performance. His defence was great. His line speed was probably the thing that impressed me more. Like he was getting the guys around him to get up with him to meet those players. So that's a really, really encouraging sign for someone coming in. Probably out of the blue coming in, and he's telling more experienced players, to get up and get with him. So that was one thing I saw. He made a tackle right in front of me where he literally just pulled, I'm pretty sure it was Bunty Afoa with him and just got him to go, like, get up, hit him. And he's got good technique, better service. And, as our coach said, he looks every bit of a first grader. So hopefully that he'll just develop as we go on, and we found a backup hooker. Sorry.
That's the first time I've seen Lanyon play, Jordan, and what I was impressed with was all of what you've said, but also his physical presence. Like he's got a lot of physicality. Joel's favourite word about him.
Well, they moved him into the 13 for a period in lower grade, and his game took a different level. Like he all played hooker a bit, but when they moved him to 13, he, especially as you said, physical presence, like with the ball and off the ball, he was really making that his own. So he could even find himself in the forward rotation elsewhere if we really want to fit him into the squad. But it's obviously first game, long way to go, but it was just great seeing him with his family in the corner and lapping it all up.
It wouldn't be bad having a guy that, and probably not a direct comparison, but a Brandon Smith type player who, you remember at his best, he was very adaptable. He could play hooker if Cameron Smith was out, and they didn't seem to lose an awful lot, but he also could play more of your traditional forward role and always did a good job. And maybe that's sort of Lanyon is that potential utility player that we've been looking for. Maybe could play a bit of lock, could play hooker, and maybe potentially play on an edge. But I think we're going to see a lot more of him in coming years. Does that performance put the full stop on Latu Fainu playing in the middle of the field? Is Latu just simply not a hooker? We're wasting him. We're ruining him trying to play him in the middle of the field. He is an out and out half. What do we think about that perspective?
For me, you go, Josh.
It's really interesting, Joel, and because I think if you say Lanyon's the kind of bench hooker, and I kind of agree with that, and then Dewey comes back, and you've got Madden as that backup there. Like I kind of think if you are saying Latu's a half, well, he's not getting enough time in the halves, so he's got to go back to New South Wales Cup and play that full season and build his skills. It might be a good partnership with him and Andrews. in that New South Wales Cup side, because if he's not going to be your backup hooker and you've got Madden who can play in the halves when Dewey's back, then you don't really need him on the bench. And, come on and play a little bit of lock. And I guess we are short of forwards at the moment, so anything else. But you can't really have Latu and a Lanyon and a Madden all on the bench because it's just too many. And he's not getting enough minutes if he's not, especially if he's not coming on to play hooker. Like that's where he's been getting some minutes. It's kind of, I think they need to make a decision about what he is. And I even wonder if his surname wasn't Fainu, would we be re-signing him coming into like he's off contract. Like, if part of it is his brothers, but he hasn't really shown much this year. Like I know he has, really, but he hasn't been. If his surname wasn't Fainu, like we wouldn't be jumping at the chance to pay him a bunch of money. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I think he has lots of potential, but I don't know that we've found the right spot for that potential. So.
But I don't know if Latu's had the best chance to show what he can show. To be fair, like he's not a 9. He's been filling in. He's a half. He hasn't had many chances at all in halves. To be fair, to be honest, the points that were leaked before halftime, when I was trying to watch them from side on, it's difficult when you're not watching on TV and you don't get all the angles, and the replay screen like us too hard to see. Yeah, especially for my old eyes. But I couldn't tell.
You glasses down.
I do have glasses, but I'd choose not to wear them tonight. It did look like a lot of it was down Latu's side. However, I'm not going to put the blame on Latu because those points also coincided when we lost KPP with that pec injury. And KPP is very important for our right edge defence. So KPP came off. Josh, I think you made a good point in our group chat during the game that because I said, is that Latu again? Like it seems to be Latu's side. And I think you said that seems to be when KPP came off, we lost a bit of that structure in defence.
Yeah, that right edge.
Down that side. Yeah. So I'm not going to put it on Latu, but I feel for him. He's not a hooker. Even if he was 13, if he had KPP beside him, I'd feel a lot more confident.
Yeah, I agree with Nick. He hasn't gotten the opportunity to show it. The problem, when he's playing at hooker, I don't know if it's a directive, but he does pass it off the ground a lot. Latu is an eyes-up footballer.
Yeah,
100%. He plays what he sees in front of him, but he's not taking any of those, scoots or those runs from that dummy half position. He is literally just passing to whoever. And then when we're in a position like when we had Titans getting all the possession, he's doing a lot of defensive work, which he probably hasn't been conditioned for. So it was hard. There was probably one of the tries that was a direct result of a bad miss from him. Well, more he had his back on the defense more than anything. But I feel that he has the opportunity to find a position in the team. It maybe not this year. If we were full strength, I don't think he's in the 19. If we were full strength and we had everybody on board, I don't think he's on the 19. He's plying his trade in New South Wales Cup with Andrews, which at the moment with all the injuries is sort of kind of probably not allowing that to happen. But I'll be interested to see once we start getting the likes of Dewey back and everyone else. But our back row stocks are absolutely thin. Ethan Roberts is in a moon boot at the moment, and now we've got KPP with a pec and still Samuela quite a few weeks away. It's not great.
Jordan, just quickly, that's one halves combination I would like to watch is Latu and Javon Andrews. If that happens in Cup, I'd be really interested to see how the two of them work together.
I'd be excited to watch that too. It would be, I think they would complement each other very well. But yeah, I just think at the moment with obviously Appy and Origin and other injuries and stuff, that's why he hasn't really gotten back into Cup for the moment.
There's probably a good argument to say, and I don't know how Latu feels about this, but go back to Cup, work with Javon Andrews for 12 months, because there's going to be a place coming up in 28. And, Dewey is doing a great job, but probably may not be long-term halfback, maybe. So there could be that opportunity. But develop your game. He's still only sort of 19. I just think we're ruining him. I just think we're wasting him. And as Jordan says, it's only because of injuries, really, that he's there consistently at the moment, I think. But it's an interesting issue, the Latu Fainu issue, and to see how that turns out over the next few years. I hope a talented young player doesn't get ruined because of the way that we're playing him and what we're doing with him. The other side of it is he might be determined to just play first grade in some capacity and doesn't want to play New South Wales Cup, but that may not be the best for him either as well. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. Let's talk about back row. KPP obviously injured, going for scans. Another pec injury like Royce Hunt. Could be a few weeks, could be the year. So what are we looking at here? Suker and Sione, I suppose, Josh, are your best bets?
Yeah, I mean, Sione played 80 minutes on the edge today. Suka played 70 minutes on the edge today when KPP went off at about the 10 or 11 minute mark. So, and I thought they both did a reasonable job. I mean, Suka's not KPP, but I'm not sure there's any other options, till Samuela comes back. I mean, I assume a pec injury for KPP is going to be at least a month, if not longer. So,
Yeah.
neither of them coming back anytime soon. You get Twile back, you've got Seyfarth, you kind of those two and Seyfarth. I think Jordan mentioned that Roberts was in a moon boot, so that and I think in New South Wales Cup today, while they had a dominant win, the back rowers were Tatua from Jersey Flegg and Luke Jack, neither of whom are first grade material. So it's the guys that were out there today, Mav Guy, Charlie Murray on the bench. I mean, we only used, and Kai Pearce-Paul played 10 minutes. We didn't use Guy, we didn't use Murray, and we didn't use Luke Lally today. So the confidence in Guy and Murray must be fairly low if we were down to bare minimum. We still didn't get either of them on the field. So I think it has to be Suka and Sione Fainu because that's really the only two guys who you can play there. I don't think there's other options. Is the challenge we have.
Well,
Unless we sign someone,
yeah.
There's been talk of Luciano Leilua coming off contract, Sean Bloor, but that'd probably be next year. But you never know if you can pay enough. Maybe you get them sooner. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know about those two. I've been there, done that. But I think today Jordan answers the question or finally puts a bloody line under Alex Seyfarth. If you're going to get anything out of him, he has to play in the middle. You can't have him in calculations for an edge.
Agreed. I thought in 13 he actually did well. He set the tone defensively. He's got that mongrel in him, which you don't want to discourage, but you've got to be able to channel it in the right manner. You want to be able to hit hard, run hard, and do the other things. The main thing he's got to do that it annoys me, and I've seen a lot of tackles, and I think the referee was very lax. I think it was an even count for ruck infringements or six agains, and we won the penalty count, but that was only because of high tackles and everything else. But his using of the attacking player to get up. You've got to stop that because there are some referees who absolutely hate it, and you get pinned for it, and that's where he starts to get a bad rap. Gets that crap out of his game, he's doing well. But today's game shows he has the ability. He has the ability, and he leads. His effort areas have never been in question.
Yeah,
I will always say I've been a big Alex Seyfarth fan. I think some of his effort areas are amazing. And Benji said they gave him a directive. In a leadership style, and he took it by the horns and he smashed it. But yes, he has to be in the middle, not on the edge.
We'll run through all the one-word submissions from the West Tigers podcast forum in just a moment or two. I think Sione is deserving of a rap. I thought he'd bounced back to his usual self after a little bit of a period and a little bit of a patch of poor form. I thought he was much, much better, much more typical Sione. But I've got to give a guy who got played out of position, got moved to the other side of the field. We had him ready for the shredder. He might be going over the Spit Bridge, but I thought Stafford Toa, Nick, was a handy player for us today. I think he did everything that we could have asked him to do, I think.
On the wing. I don't know if I've seen Stafford play on, or at least start on the wing before, so that was something new. I'm not sure whether being on the left wing had anything to do with his left arm being so heavily bandaged. I wonder if that was maybe half an effort to reduce the amount of impact he needs to do with his left arm in terms of fending off. However, that first try that he scored, he did manage a fair fend off that left hand too. So, and he had a good game. I was really happy to see Stafford well, I won't say at his best, but he was good. But I honestly do think too, thinking about, you mentioned Sione had a good game. I think Benji probably put it to quite a few of players behind closed doors after last week's effort against Panthers and challenged a lot of them to stand up. And I think Stafford's probably one of those boys.
Josh, the Manly talk about Stafford, obviously, maybe not obviously, but it looks as though the club's sort of happy if he does move on. Those kind of performances today, he's a frustrating player because sometimes he does look really capable and looks like a really good addition to our team, and I'm really glad he's out there. And then other times it's kind of like, why do we persist with this? He is inconsistent.
He is inconsistent. I think a lot of it comes down to fitness and injury, and I kind of look at that, a little bit when he goes, well, he gets injured a lot, but then also I think, well, that means also because he doesn't really take that time off, he's actually playing with injury, and that shows a fair level of commitment. It's really interesting, as you said, like when he is fit, he plays really well. We haven't always had him fit. He's he's got a lot of first grade experience. He's like a couple of weeks ago, he did that really good job on that tackle against the Dogs, and then he played well on the wing today. Kind of,
Yeah.
I don't think he's played there since the Newcastle days. So, yeah, look, it's an interesting one, and obviously there's talk that we'll sign Avarillo, and that kind of leaves Stafford, but then leaves you with wings. Like I felt I had more confidence today in our wing pairing, just in the fact that they're genuine experienced first graders. We talk about depth. Well, I don't know about this from an affordability point of view, but look, our outside backs aren't all in the park. You can afford to have five of them, and they're probably all playing first grade every time they're fit. Like you can have Avarillo, you can have Toa, you can have Taruva, you can have Makasini and May. Probably no one's hardly missing a game like where they're actually available because those guys just aren't. I mean, in most teams, your top four outside backs aren't always unavailable very often together. So, but yeah, he was really impressive today. I also thought Pat Herbert had an absolute storm over a game out there in the centres today. So, says something about genuine first grade experience versus kids with one or two games. I think that makes a difference.
He's still a bit of a loose cannon. He does make me get a little bit anxious. He is on report. Seyfarth on report too for that try-saving tackle, which was just ridiculous why that was on report. Jordan, I'll just quickly ask you on Stafford Toa. If we do lose him, I mean, Avarillo apparently, by all reports, has signed, and that'll be announced this week. Would it be a shame to see Stafford Toa move on?
It is, because we've seen what he can do. Like I've always had a soft spot for Stafford. I think a lot of it comes down to, as Josh said, with his body. It seems to be letting him down in a lot of areas. The hard part with him is the gap between his best game and his worst game is massive. He has the ability and he shows it. I think we all remember that game against the Cowboys where he absolutely barfed Valentine Holmes. And we all thought, well, great. He's starting to find his mojo in first grade, and then obviously he's had injury after injury. I don't think we're going to miss him if he does go to Manly. Avarillo has a lot of pace and offers a bit. The bit on the wing, I think defensively that suited him best because you got less decisions to make on the wing. In centre, you've got too many.
Yeah.
And watched him tonight, especially closely when he was right in front of me at points. He didn't overcommit, which was great. That was probably the biggest thing you can do as a winger. He sort of kind of sat back and waited for the attack to make the decision, and then he made some good defensive reads on there, but he wasn't shooting in and overplaying his hand. So, but I think we've got enough sort of kind of with Avarillo coming around. I think he doesn't have his place in our top grade squad for the coming future.
Well, I will just say that I felt a lot safer with Toa on the wing over Skelton.
Yeah, fair.
I didn't feel there was going to be as many brain farts as what Jarrell brings.
Speaking of brain farts, can we touch on the Taruva?
Oh, far out. Just touch the ball, for God's sake.
That was...
Got himself in the right position and then pulled his hand away. For those of you boys at the game, like I don't know how close you were, but sit on TV, he put his foot over, he was ready, he was doing it, and then for some reason he's pulled his hand away from touch. Like it came well and truly that he could have just whacked it with his arm and been fine, but he pulled his hand away from it. It was very strange, very weird. Could have cost us the match.
Real brain fart. I honestly think that he probably second-guessed himself and probably thought, because the wind was swirling a lot towards where Taruva was standing, he probably thought the ball was going to go over the sideline. I think he didn't touch it thinking it's going to go over, but I know why, because you're there, you just got to touch it.
Doesn't matter either way.
I honestly think he just had a complete brain fart, and it almost cost us the game. Like, it cost us a try, but it almost cost us a game.
Speaking of things that nearly cost us the game, Nick decided to open his mouth and say Fanua Pole was having a great game seconds before he knocked it on with minutes to go. So, speaking of costing the game, hang your head in shame, Nick. That was dreadful.
Yeah, it wasn't good timing.
No.
Pole did have some very good runs, but Pole does have the Steve Edmed contract clause, which is you must drop the ball at least one time in every game.
You know what? I'm going to forgive him for that one because honestly, before that happened, and I swear I said it literally 5 seconds before he knocked the ball on, I thought he was having the best game I've ever seen him play for West Tigers as well.
Yeah.
Some of the intensity he was running at was incredible. I don't know if that temperature just suited him, but he seemed to maintain that 100% intensity at the line, from the back fence throughout the whole game. He was really, really good, apart from that one knock on.
You get the best out of him when he starts on the bench.
You do.
Great.
100% you do. Yep.
100%.
Yep.
So just on injuries, just before we move on, just a couple of things. So I thought Bunty Afoa was pretty decent. I think he fills that hole that Royce Hunt has left, which is a good thing if we've got a fairly good like-for-like replacement there. And sometimes with our injuries this year, we've had a bit of a like-for-like, or we've gained something by bringing in another player. Like Lanyon wouldn't have got his debut if Appy didn't get selected for New South Wales. So in a few ways, our weaknesses have ended up maybe being sort of covered at least, or we've uncovered something out of it. But I just thought it'd be worth asking or highlighting that I don't think we've had all season, 14 games that we've played. I don't think we've had the same backline every week, 2 weeks in a row.
At least positionally, probably right.
Yep, I think so.
That's how.
I'd say max maybe 2 games in a row. We've produced the same backline if we were lucky.
Yeah, it seems a lot of chopping
Well, I
and changing.
think only Taruva's probably played the whole season, and he's probably played in
Yeah.
3 or 4 different positions if you include centre. Well, he's played centre, wing, and fullback, and probably different versions of each of those too. So, it's been a crazy rotating chairs in that back line. So, we weren't far off today. What I think might be our full strength back line. If you had Dewey in, I think that'd be probably the one I'd pick. Given the experience, I might leave Macassini out of my full strength back line. So. Might be far off today.
Herbert, Macassini. Yeah.
I think Macassini needs time in Cup. He needs just a confidence month in Cup.
Just experience and physicality in the playing, without the pressure of first grade.
And speaking about who you shuffle back to Cup, when AD comes back, whether it's next week or the following week, what do you do with Latu and what do you do with Jock? Who plays on the bench and who potentially goes back? Jock's been quite solid.
Jock stays up. Latu goes down and gets more minutes in Cup.
Josh is going all in on experience.
I am. I think it's an underrated quality, especially when we're short of blokes out with injury. I think that you've got to kind of go, well, you know what? Yeah. I save my kids for when I've got most of my better players and I can give them a run around. Not all like you got some you got to, but where you can, I'd
keep Latu. I'd keep Latu. Even though we leaked a few points with Latu on that right side, and those points were right edge to middle, I still think he's a better defender than Jock. And I think he's a bit more versatile than Jock.
Yeah, versatility is what I was going to say. Yeah, he probably has a bit more covering in positions, but we'll have to leave that to the coach.
Yeah. Jeez, he was angry at times. Sorry, John.
He was cranky. I've actually never seen Benji that cranky.
I've never heard him so clearly. And sitting where we sat, Jordan, just behind the Tigers reserves bench, at times where Benji was not happy with some last play tackles, he turned and dropped the F-bomb and was spitting, and you could see the spit. He was very loud. No. He'd be a happy man now, though. Good win.
Oh, I think he'd
the
be...
The joy of Leichhardt. Being that close.
I don't know how happy he would be. I think he'd be a little bit relieved.
Yes.
I think Ivan Cleary last week would have been happy, but I think that's happiness. I think Benji would be relieved.
2 points is happiness for us, Joel.
2 points is 2 points. Let's have a look at the one-word submissions. Mac Tiger, their word was crowd. Magnificent, and it boosted the team. Mac Tiger also came back with 2 more words. Alex, career best game from him, and Jerome. Just simply Jerome. Mike's word was Luai. What a champion. Tiger Stew. STFU to the doomsayers and the negative fans. Natmag78, memory. A great last memory of Leichhardt. Peter A's word was homage. They gave the send-off that the 8th wonder of the world deserved. Teddy S, character. The comeback was immense. Enumerator, 8th. I love the eighth, is what he said. Love the eighth wonder of the world, not eighth position on the table. I'd be happy to be in eighth right now, but we're slightly lower. London Tigers redemption. Jerome and the Tigers after last week's massacre, and Mercy Rule realism. It's a win and we'll take it, but we need to be 100 times better to be taken seriously as a top 8 team. Josh, I'm going to reflect back to you two of those words, redemption and also character. So we had a lot go against us in that game, and the Titans at times looked the superior team, certainly the more dangerous team, the faster team at different times. But I can't help but think that a lot of West Tigers teams from the last 5 years might have capitulated when the Titans came back.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, Leichhardt helps. Like, I do wonder how that game would have gone if it was at somewhere else. But
Somewhere else.
somewhere, anywhere else. I think
somewhere else near a train station, a tennis
Oh,
court,
but if it was at Parramatta or if it was, like, I don't know if we would have come back from that score. But look, we did, and we showed character, and we came back. I thought all night too. Like, even we had 90% completion. Like, the guys that they clearly played a simpler kind of game, and the Gold Coast got a couple of tries. I mean, they got one where Buller was ruled to have knocked on when actually it was a Titans leg, and we didn't challenge it. And they got one where Taruva, should have just touched that ball. So I think the score flatters the Titans a little bit, and they had a good 10 minutes before half time with those three. And like Nick before, on my group chat with mates, I'd just gone on a bit about how I'd always choose Buller over Kinney, and I wasn't so impressed with Kinney at about the 30-minute mark, and then he had 3 breaks that led to tries just after. So I do apologise to all West Tigers for that. But yeah, look, I thought we showed great character to kind of push through and come back and win that. Jerome taking the lead. I thought Buller was very good. Our senior players stepped up. Terrell May, 80 minutes again, or 78 minutes and 230 meters. Like, I thought our senior players stepped up and took a leadership role, and that kind of shows character. And it shows a bit of resilience under pressure. It also shows that the Gold Coast aren't Penrith. Like, I mean,
Thank God.
I'm very excited, but but we did beat the team coming second last at our home ground. So, we'll not get too excited for the rest of the season, but it's a win we needed to have, and we had it. So, yeah.
They didn't look like a team that was right down where they are on the ladder. They looked a better team than that. And like Penrith, you look at them at the top of the table, 28 points, 6 clear of the nearest rival. And then it's Warriors, Manly. It's a lot of teams you think, I can't see them beating Penrith. So I think we're
only
playing
2 games off second. Like, ignoring first,
exactly.
This is a really close comp from second down to 10th. Like, we're right in it.
There's 10 teams playing for who's going to come second.
Yeah,
who's going to get beaten by Penrith in the grand final. Jordan, the one thing that stands out to me this year is when I watch this West Tigers team, I think to myself, okay, well, that's the performance that they've given. But I think there's better. I think they could play better than that. And it's a frustrating thing. I don't think they're playing. Maybe some people in the team are playing at their potential, but I think the team could play better than that, if that makes sense. There's more potential there.
Definitely. We go back to that first month of the season where we're playing 80-minute performances and we look like a different team. We seem to have hit a bit of a wall at the moment. I don't know if it's conditioning, the chopping and changing of places and people coming in and out of the team doesn't help. But we don't look the same as what we did. But we are missing some very important and key components. Alex Twall makes a huge difference to our defensive structure. Yeah. And then obviously Sam Fainu made a big difference to our attacking threat and just presence on the field. So they can play better. There is the ability to play better. We just seem to be, I think there's probably 4 or 5 players out there carrying injuries. They always seem to be getting up a bit slower, a bit sore. And yeah, now we just got another, long-term injury added to the list tonight. But it's there. We have my biggest concern is if we don't jag probably 4 or 5 wins over the next 6-7 weeks, that end period where we're traveling away a lot is going to be tough. And we don't want to be relying on, winning the last round of the year to make finals. We want to be making that sort of kind of having that ability or that breathing space 3-4 weeks prior. So, but hopefully we'll be a bit more full strength by then.
I'm going to prophesize a ninth place finish. I can obviously we're doing better than we have done the last few years.
Nick's doing the math.
Well, I haven't actually. I'm just thinking in my head, just the way we're going. I actually think we are playing well enough, but like you were saying, Jordan, missing a few cattle. Sam Fainu is a massive out that we've had now for a while, and we're going to continue to have for a number of more weeks. Kai Pearce-Paul on the other edge equally is much a loss now, potentially for the season. Adam Dewey, we've been missing him for a while. He's a huge out. He was killing it in the 7 jumper. And Alex Twal, obviously, has been out for a few weeks now. That's another huge out in the middle because I don't think we would have leaked that many tries in the last, or in that 10 minutes before halftime if Twal was on the field. Sorry, Josh.
Our forward pack is decimated, I think is reasonable to say. Like, today we were missing Apiat Hooker, effectively missing Kai Pearce-Paul and Sam Weller on an edge, Twal at lock, Royce Hunt off the bench. Like, that's probably 5 of your, starting 17 pack of, 6 or probably eight guys. 5 of your 8 guys are out. So, it's a big hole, and we don't have the greatest depth, but I'm not sure any club has the greatest depth to miss 5 of their, probably top 7 or 8 forwards. So.
And this is the only fear that I have why we may miss out on the 8. It's not going to be through lack of effort, and I'm not going to take last week as an example. I think it's going to be just unlucky with the injuries. I think we're just extremely unlucky already. And the way it's going, like you're saying, Josh, we're tapping into the depth and it's scratching the surface, right? Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard to get the amount of wins that you're holding up, Joel, every week. I hope we can do it. It's going to take a hell of a lot of mental fortitude to be able to put ourselves in a position to be playing for a semi-final spot. But I pray we can. We've got some hard games coming up. Next week's going to be very difficult against the Dolphins. I think we've got the Dragons in a couple of weeks. So there's opportunities, but like we saw today, no game's going to be easy. So it's going to be a tough road.
Yeah, 5 from 11 to get us to 30 points. But the more the season goes on, the more I think we're going to need 32. Especially with the for and against now going out the window on a couple of occasions. So it's a really, really big challenge. If we were at full strength, I'd say we're running downhill. I think we'd ace that easily. Yep. But every week we seem to be losing another player, and that is the curse of the season so far, unfortunately. Albeit, as Josh always says, we've got the Dragons a couple of times. The Knights who are getting better. there's a few winnable games in there. So I'm not calling the season because I certainly would have been calling it if we'd lost. But Josh, I think we're in agreement that there's still hope there, and I'd rather be not this many forwards, but if you asked me, I'd rather lose a couple of forwards than the backs, and the backs, albeit look a little bit injured, but at least we're kind of sort of full strength there. Benji was talking about, he was asked about Adam Dewey. He said he won't be back this week, but he might be back the week after that. You get Dewey back, and I think we've got a couple of decent props. We've got some options there. I think we're still alive at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think today was really important. I think when we've got Dolphins, Knights, Dragons, Warriors, if we can win 2 of those next 4 while we've still got a bunch of guys out, I think that'd be a great result and put us in contention. And then kind of you get to round 20, Will Twal's back and Sam Weller's back and Dewey's back, and hopefully we don't get any more significant injuries. Hopefully KPP's isn't for too long. You kind of got a bit of a run there where, and it's probably looked bad at the start of the season, but you got the Dogs, the Raiders, the Eels, the Dragons. Like, that's 4 games in a row. But if you're going to make finals, those 4 teams are in the bottom 4. I think that is the bottom 4 at the moment. So if you kind of take those 4 games there, and then in the last round, you've got, well, it sounds horrible. You've got Penrith, but they're already 6-8 points clear. They're going to be resting virtually their whole side in that last round, you'd imagine. So all of a sudden you're playing the Windsor Wolves. So I
hope they rest the Windsor Wolves too.
That's it. But so I think we're definitely still in a chance for final if we can scrape a couple in this injury ravaged period. And other teams have got advantages. Other teams are getting injuries. Like, I think Katoa's out for the Dolphins next week, and Azako's out, and so if you get, we talk about us having a lot of injuries. If you get a couple of those teams when they're missing a bunch of guys from, and Dolphins will be after Origin, there'll be a bunch of tired guys and a few injured guys. Maybe we scrape that, and then we beat the Dragons, and all of a sudden some other teams are injured, and we're kind of hitting form with a full strength team back. I feel like we're gonna make the 8 as long as new injuries don't start occurring. I think we've probably had our run of bad luck. Just need to stop getting injured. So.
And you'd imagine that Appy will be back for the Dolphins as well. So
Yeah,
that's
hopefully he's fresh.
Exactly. Nick played golf with Appy. Is that?
Did I?
We need. Yeah, I think we definitely need. Yeah, and it's funny how we've gone through 45 minutes, and I haven't heard anybody else talking about this. But we just did it without Appy Coruscant as well. Like, you got to factor
Only our
in.
second time since he joined the club.
Yeah.
Tristan Hope out. Jesse Lanyon in. Key move.
Yeah.
Key move.
Well, Benji had faith in him. He started him. Didn't put him on the bench. He started him.
He was really good. And Jordan, we were sitting very close, mate. But I don't know if you saw it, but when Jesse came off for his first spell, Benji walked up and gave him a fist bump. Like there was a few other players came off for a rest, and Benji might have said something, but there was no physical interaction. Obviously, Jesse's first game was a massive occasion for him, but there was a good acknowledgement there from Benji. So I think Jesse was very good, and I hope he gets another crack. I could see him being a bench 9, even to fill in for bits and pieces if required. So,
and I will say he didn't run a great deal today, which first game, totally understandable. But in Jersey Flegg last year, and even in Cup, I think he scored three of the 4 last games in Cup, and last year in Flegg, I think he scored 8 or 9 tries across the season. He's a guy who can get out and score a try down in the middle. He's has some talent.
He did run a couple of times for a dummy half, which is what on the last pod I'd actually asked Latu to do if he got the opportunity to go for a scoot, because we haven't seen that. But Jesse did it, so good on him for doing that.
Are there any other options in the lower grades in regards to forwards that we could call on? I mean, they had a big win, the New South Wales Cup team. Apparently, Javon Andrews played very, very well, was very dominant. Heath Mason, to his credit, scored some ridiculous amount of points as well, kicking goals and scoring tries. But
can we just mention the score as well?
68 to
Josh,
8.
were you watching it?
I watched the second half. 68 to what's the first half? Sorry, 68 to 8.
But the halftime score 48-0.
48-0. I mean, they scored one, and then I think they scored the next 2 without the opposition touching the ball. Like it was off the kickoff set. Then maybe I think that one set. Then we scored there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tries in the first 40 minutes. So first 20 minutes, it was in saying that. The Roosters was a fairly decimated looking side, but you still got to go out there and do it. But as for forwards in that side, like Lachlan Brodelo, who was playing prop, I mean, Barker Aho.
He's dropped off. He looked good 18 months ago. He's not anymore.
Barker Aho, who was the other prop, who's been okay off the bench, but is only playing starting because of the fact that, Bunty had to come up and Mav Guy had to come up, and Luke Jack and Mitch Tautoa Mitch Tautoa's got a little bit of potential in the games I've seen. Luke Jack's a bench New South Wales Cup player. Letty Samuela at the lock, and then the bench for the New South Wales Cup. That was our. There were our Jersey Flegg players: Jared Haywood, Archie Duncombe, Phoenix Godney, with a bench. Like these are 19-year-old kids, coming up to play forward. An interesting one though. Peter Tateo, who played Cup for us and was quite impressive last year, went over to the Jets and actually came back to the Tigers. This is his first game back for the Maggies. So, honestly, looking at that New South Wales Cup side, if I was to pick one of those guys, having watched quite a bit of it in the last 18 months, he'd be the one the only one who get probably big enough and strong enough and physically kind of competitive enough to play. But
is he the one from the Raiders?
Yeah, Raiders came to us last year and then went off to the Jets this year, played 4 or 5 games for them. And I think maybe with all our injuries, we've kind of, spent a bit of money to bring him back in Cup. But
I agree with you, Josh. I think he's probably the only one in New South Wales Cup I'd actually give a crack in first grade if needed. Luke Jack, only if absolutely desperate.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's Guy and Murray who were unused on the bench today are probably the best of the New South Wales Cup level forwards, and there were circumstances last week and everyone was bad, but I think that's probably your options, to be fair, in NRL.
So against the Dolphins, we're looking at a bench of, you would presume things stay the same, Pole, Suka starts and Murray and Gaia. Still, there's one sort of, I think we need a little bit more muscle somewhere there off that bench. But anyway, we'll talk about that on the midweek pod, no doubt. Just wrapping up Benji's press conference. He was extremely proud. Called out Seyfarth, Luai and Lanyon for praise. He said there was a lot he didn't like, but there were some good things to take away from it. He said the KPP injury was devastating. And he said we've got to keep building on the season. And to their credit, to a degree, we have done that. We haven't packed up. We've kind of faced the adversity and most of the time, or a lot of the time, 7 out of 6, 7 out of 14 times, it's 7 out of 13 times we've won. So I guess you could say that we just got to continue on with that. Yes, Nick.
Well, I just want to say too, today was one of those days where it was a bit of an occasion. Like we had something to play for. It was our last Leichhardt game before the redevelopment. It was the last Leichhardt game from the old Leichhardt that so many of us have walked into for decades and decades to watch our beloved team play in. We usually lose those games. And it looked like we were going to go down that path again. I was sitting there in the wind and the cold and the rain, and I was so cold. And we were losing in the second half. I was thinking, this is bad. Like, this is just so typical West Tigers. I'm going to go home miserable. I'm going to have to be on this pod. I don't want to do it. And then we lifted and we did the impossible. Jerome Luai stood up, scored 3 tries in that second half. It was incredible.
The last 3 tries.
The last 3. Yeah. And it was just, it was another magical Leichhardt experience. So just so happy that it went that way, as we all are. But yeah, sad not to go back there for a year and a half, but it was a nice way to send her off.
Leichhardt holds a lot of happy memories and a lot of memories for Nick. He's been going there for 7 decades. So, all right, boys, thank you very much for your time, and great to do a post-win edition.
Before we do, I bumped into a fan of the podcast. His name's Noel, not Joel, but a Noel.
Noel.
At my local cafe, the Black Sheep Cafe down at Rydalmere, just down the bottom of the hill from my place. He's a lovely fella. He spoke very highly of the podcast. So, Noel, I know you're listening, mate, so it was really nice to meet you, and I hope to see you down there for a flat white before too long.
Thank you, Noel. All righty. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you soon.
Thanks,
boys.